was going to be a book challenge. She read excerpts from the Bluest Eye, and as well on social media, there were both sides, I'll say sides, unfortunately there are, it's the easiest way to explain it. There's petitions on both ends, we'll say. So.
Okay. So I just wanted to say that I reread the Bluest Eye over the weekend. And Toni Morrison is from Elaine, Ohio. The story is set in the city in 1941, making it of particular relevance to readers in this part of the country. When Morrison published it in 1970, it had grown out of the shifting experiences for Black women in particular, and a gradual expansion of standards of beauty as a result of the civil rights movement. The Bluest Eye has become an important work recognized for its unique point of view. Morrison, of course, has been recognized as a Princeton scholar and a Nobel and Pulitzer Prize winner. The book has merited study guides, including footnotes and spark notes, because of its common use in literary courses. The two passages that are often in the crosshairs are but a small part of the total work. 98% of the story gives context to those painful scenes. They are both shocking and heartbreaking, but support the telling of the little girl's tragic story and explain her departure from sanity. To summarize the Bluest Eye in a perfunctory way based on those passages would be like characterizing Romeo and Juliet as a story about teen suicide. It's part of the story, but fails to capture the meaning and significance of the work in its entirety. This work is available as a full text, free online, as well as companion study guides and critical analyses. So I just thought I would.
And I'll just add to that, I was really hoping I wouldn't have to read this, but because you brought up the passages, I do think to have merit to both sides of the issue. I think it's important to understand that this book does talk about a father raping his child. And it's not just saying that, he rapes his child. It talks in detail. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I will probably puke right here. It's just disgusting. But just so everybody understands, I'll just read a little bit. The confused mixture of his, speaking of the father, memories of Pauline and doing of a wild and forbidden thing excited him, and the bolt of desire ran down his genitals, giving it length and softening the lips of his anus. I'm not going to read any further because it's
She's done? Okay.
very appalling in my opinion. But, I understand what you're saying. I think that this material, as we saw with both petitions, the challenge petition and the petition that was going around online, it was pretty even in the amount of people that were supporting or opposing it. I'm pushing for a policy, along with Tom supporting it, that prevents this kind of material from entering our classrooms or our school libraries. I would never prevent it from going into a public library. That's up to parents to monitor that. So I appreciate what you're bringing up, but I think for a lot of people, those passages are taking away from a child's innocence, and they don't want their children reading that.
In the case of this particular book, because it's part of the AP English list of recommended books that has been actually referenced in the AP exam in some years, to select from different books each time. It's in a unique category, I would say. It doesn't, as far as I understand, meet the definition of obscenity or based on the legal definition, because that would require it to be for the purpose of a prurient interest rather than part of a literary work.
So that's why I think we do need clarification from our board attorney on that, and that's why I'm also asking to add specific language saying sexually explicit, along with obscene, or even mentioning pedophilia or molestation.
Can I just ask, I know you're both on the curriculum committee, and I know that we handle book challenges to that committee.
Not that committee, that's a separate
Yes.
committee.
Okay.
Yeah, the book challenge would go from a separately assembled community, so that would include board members.
Okay, so however we're handling these book challenges, is that process not working?
Well, I think there's the root of the issue when we talk about book challenges are a lot of sexually explicit, undertones to book challenges. I we were told that George is in the middle school. It's not in 5th grade classrooms, but my assumption is that that is also eventually going to be challenged. And I don't know that that process is working because we are going to consistently have book challenges under the same guise of it being sexually explicit. I also think that, with our current book challenges, this is kind of a separate side note, I don't think it's fair to Mr. Heath to have him have to have a say on book challenges when they're so controversial, because he's going to upset, half of the people because he's agreeing with it or not agreeing with it. So that's just kind of like a separate thing that I would like to also look into, but we could look into that with, when we look at the policy for book challenges there, because it is a little bit different.
The book was written in 1970, I
But it's an adult book.
Mrs. Jeschelnig, you asked if the challenge was going to happen tonight. How did you prepare that? You didn't know the challenge was going to happen?
No, because I had heard that there was a question about it. This book has merited a lot of controversy. I'll be the first to agree with that. So that has come up over and over again. If you just look up challenged books, it's usually near the top of the list. So I wanted to know exactly what the book was in its entirety. So I took the time to read it. So knowing that, I have this in my books.